difference, and none of it would be possible without members like you and supporters like you. My position is funded entirely through donations, so every member, donor and supporter has the chance to play a massive role. Because although it's my job to grow the team here in Bolsover, campaign managers and successful campaigns rely on people across the country for support, whether that's knocking on doors or chipping in. So I hope that over the next 2 years, 80-20 candidates and MPs like Mark Fletcher can rely on you.
Peter Booth, Chairman of the National Convention.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Leeds. Thank you for all attending this evening. Finally, we get to the hustings that really matter. After the TV studios, the candidates are here to speak to you, the electorate, the people who matter in this election. This is the first in our hustings tour. For us, the volunteers, to take part in a great exercise of democracy, where we, the members of our party, get to choose our new leader. She or he will be announced on the 5th of September, and as with a party of government, will then become Prime Minister very soon afterwards. As Ian Dale, who moderated many of these hustings in 2019, said, and I quote, "I found chairing the hustings in 2019 a surprisingly positive experience. The members really put the two candidates through their paces and asked some very searching questions. I learned a lot about both candidates, and so did those present. So I ask you tonight to make your questions searching, to make them succinct, and to ask questions and not to make statements, so that more of the audience here have an opportunity to ask those questions. Both of our candidates have a duty and a desire to fulfill our 2019 manifesto. Their differences will be how to go about that in a very different world from 2019, post-Brexit, post-COVID, in uncertain times internationally, and where our union as a nation is under threat. So I ask you to test our candidates, to seek to establish their strengths, and to see who is best capable of running our great nation. As we're all Conservatives here tonight, I know that you'll all be respectful of our two candidates and keep your questions positive. For them, for me, and for our CCHQ team, who have worked so diligently to set up these hustings at short notice and in midsummer, this is the first of the hustings in a tight schedule which runs until the final rally until the 31st of August. As you know, our ballot opens very soon. You can vote online or by post. We ask that where possible you vote online. Quite simply, it costs us less, and I'm sure that we want all of our hard-earned funds to go to campaigning. I hope that this evening will give you more clarity about how to cast your vote as to who will be our next party leader and our Prime Minister. I hope that you go away enthused and energised in your commitment to helping our great party to win the next election, whether it be by campaigning on doorsteps, making phone calls, stuffing envelopes, or giving us a financial contribution. We need your help and support. Thank you everyone for attending this evening.
Please welcome Andrew Stevenson MP, co-chairman of the Conservative Party.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to our first hustings here in Leeds. I'm delighted to be joined by so many members of our party at an event which sold out within hours. During this stage of the Conservative Party leadership election, we have a full programme of hustings across the country. And in every nation of the United Kingdom, we are giving you, our members, the chance to put your questions to the candidates. All these events are available online too, so welcome to those of you joining us virtually. And thank you to LBC for partnering with us today, broadcasting to your loyal listeners. It is right that we start our hustings here in Leeds, and not just because both candidates have deep connections with this part of the country. Leeds is home to our excellent new Northern Conservative campaign headquarters, playing a vital role in getting the Conservative message out across the north of England. And in the last few days, I've been getting out and about across Yorkshire, campaigning with Conservative activists in places like Dewsbury, Morley Outwood and Rother Valley, all seats that will be key to the next general election, and I've seen the strength of our party's grassroots. We've all seen the incredibly strong slate of candidates for this contest. Together, the most diverse range of candidates for any leadership election in British history. And we've shown once again that it is the Conservative Party which stands for opportunity and meritocracy. No shortlists, no quotas, just hard-working, talented Conservatives delivering for our country. I am staying neutral in this contest, as are all of our hard-working party staff. But I do believe that we have two fantastic candidates, either of whom can take this country forward and tackle the big issues that we face. Labour would love to have a female leader, but we could be about to have our third female Prime Minister before they've even had one. Or our first Prime Minister of Asian heritage, the second Conservative Prime Minister from an ethnic minority background after Benjamin Disraeli. Having either Liz or Rishi as our leader and our Prime Minister would be something to celebrate in modern Britain. And we should be proud of our long history of this party in leading our great country. We are the world's most successful political party, and that is down to our ideas, down to our members, and down to our record. Our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has shown that a Conservative government can rise to the challenges of today, getting Brexit done, delivering the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, protecting 14 million jobs during the pandemic, and leading the world in supporting Ukraine and standing up to Putin. That is a truly historic record with which our new leader can build upon with the support of party members. Before we hear from each of the candidates, let us remember why a strong Conservative government is so important. The alternative, of course, is a Labour government, likely in coalition with the Liberal Democrats and the SNP. Such a government would risk the integrity of the United Kingdom. Labour would have never got Brexit done. They voted against tax cuts for low-income families. They voted against additional investment for our NHS, and they voted against protecting our borders and tackling vile people smugglers. They campaigned to make Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister, who would have taken us out of NATO. And now they want Sir Keir Starmer, Captain Hindsight, the Remainer-in-Chief, to run our country. When Labour last left government, they admitted there was no money left. And no Labour government has ever left office with unemployment lower than when they came to power. That is what is at stake. It is our next leader who must relentlessly continue to deliver for the British people, focusing on getting on with the job in hand, leading the way internationally in standing up for our ideas, standing up for our partners on the world stage, uniting this country and uniting the Conservative Party. Now, I know you all want to hear from the two candidates to help you decide who to choose should take our party and our country forward. So with no further ado, let me pass over to your host for this evening for the first leadership contest hustings here in Leeds, LBC's Nick Ferrari. Thank you.
Here we go. Okay. Andrew, thank you very much indeed. I'm only going to take about a minute just to tell you exactly what we have planned for you today. First off, obviously, thank you very much. It's an absolute privilege to be here and to bring you this very important husting, the first one. And as you've already heard, this is when the pundits and the pollsters take a back seat and the people who really matter, Those of you in the room, you get to make the decision. And thank you, Peter Booth, for referencing my colleague Ian Dale, who did such a brilliant job last time. I know we all want to send our best wishes to Ian. He sadly fell off a stage at a book festival recently. So, no, it's absolutely true. So we send him his best wishes. When we see what's happened to someone from another broadcast, it seems to be catching. But I tell you, if I go down, I'll take the whole stage with me. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted then. Enough of the earrings. It's time to have a proper hearing from the candidates. Let me tell you how this works. You will hear from both of them in a video in just a moment, and you'll hear from supporters of them as well. I ask a few questions, but you are going to do the heavy lifting. You will do the main questioning, and I will make sure that I'm scanning the room all the time. There are three fantastic people wearing white hoodies, I think, and if you can sort of wave, that's who you need. You need to gain their attention. There's one waving over there. Thank you very much indeed. I don't think you're wearing white, but never mind, you'll do anyway. There's one waving over there. So look for these people who are waving. Yeah, thank you, thank you. There's another wave. So when it comes to your turn, wave to them, and that's how we will hear from you. Try and keep your questions as brief as you can, and then we can get through as many. That's it. I'm done. So let's get into the process. Thank you again for the privilege of being here. Ladies and gentlemen, supporters, please welcome the Right Honourable David Davis MP.
Thank you, Nick. Good evening, everybody. It is my great pleasure to introduce Rishi Sunak today, here at the very first hustings, quite properly held in Yorkshire. Today, we face the most important decision the Conservative Party can take, the selection of the next Prime Minister. That Prime Minister will face a number of crises, some known ones on the day he or she takes office, and unforeseen ones in the future. That's why our new Prime Minister will have to have great courage, great intellect, and a strong, consistent set of principles. I've known Rishi Sunak for a long time, and I know him to be a man of great honesty and integrity, great intellect, and real Conservative principles. But he's also a brave man. Back in 2016, he and others were told by the then Prime Minister, David Cameron, that campaigning for Brexit would seriously damage their career prospects. As a result, of course, a number of ministers either went quiet or campaigned for Remain. Rishi backed Brexit anyway. He put his country and his principles before his career and took that decision. Later on, in 2020, we had to deal with COVID. As Chancellor, he was amongst the first in the world to design and implement a rescue package for the whole British economy. I'll make no bones about it. It rescued our country. We talk about 12 million jobs, but it rescued our country. The IMF described that package as amongst the best in the world, and indeed the fastest into play. He faced a completely unforeseen, once-in-a-century problem and dealt with it with courage, imagination, and effectiveness. He made it happen. And he continued to face tough decisions up until this very day. So our new Prime Minister will face difficult, unpredictable challenges, and for that reason, we should choose them not just on policy, but on character. Rishi understands that we have to take difficult decisions today for the sake of our own futures and for the sake of our children's futures. He stands for true Conservative values, patriotism, fairness, hard work. He is the candidate who can restore trust and unite both our party and the country. It's Rishi who can beat Labour and deliver another general election victory. Today, polls regularly show only Rishi beats Keir Starmer. But more than that, much more than that, polls come and go. Rishi is a man who can outthink all our opponents, Labour, Liberal or SNP. And in the three largest polls ever taken, the public clearly think that Rishi would make the best Prime Minister. and I agree with them. That's why I'm backing Rishi Sunak, not just to become our next leader and next Prime Minister, but because I believe he will be a truly great leader and a truly great Prime Minister of our great nation. Thank you.
My values, traditional conservative values, are clear. Hard work, patriotism, fairness, a love of family, pragmatism, but also an unshakable belief that we can build a better future.
The best candidate in terms of grip on our economy and vision for the future.
He worked flat out for businesses and families across Yorkshire.
He's very popular in Yorkshire because he tells it how it is.
He'll provide the calm competence we need in number 10 Downing Street.
We're ready for Rishi.
Please welcome Rishi Sunak.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Fantastic to be here in Yorkshire. Now, this campaign has been absolutely brilliant. I've been having the time of my life over the last week, being out and about across the country, talking to all of you, talking to all our members. The weather's been fantastic, so we've been in so many people's gardens. The sun has been shining, so much so that someone even said to me the other day, "Wow, you've got a great tan." Look, I'm standing here tonight in front of you all for one simple reason, and that's because this country did something absolutely incredible for my family. It welcomed them here as immigrants 60 years ago and allowed them to build a better life. My dad was an NHS GP. My mum ran the local chemist in Southampton, where I grew up. And they brought me up with a set of values that are absolutely core to who I am today. Now, the first of those values is that family means everything to me. The bonds of love, sacrifice, commitment that family brings are far greater than anything that any government could ever replicate, and we should never forget that. My family also believed in hard work as the way to get ahead. I worked in my mum's shop. I delivered prescriptions out to elderly patients who couldn't come in and pick them up. I worked as a waiter in the local Indian restaurant, all because that was how we moved forward as a family. And for my parents, the best way to provide a better future for their children was through education. And that is why they saved and they sacrificed to provide a brilliant education for their 3 children. And it's why today I believe that the most powerful way we as Conservatives can transform people's lives is through education. So those patriotism, service, family, hard work, aspiration. I think they're probably all of your values too. And that's because they're Conservative values. My story is a Conservative story. And that's why I want to be Prime Minister. I want to put those Conservative values into action for our country. This country allowed my family to provide me with a better future and fantastic opportunities. And that's what I want to do for everyone, your children and grandchildren. Give them the same opportunities and better future that I enjoyed. And if you support me, I know that we can build a better Britain. A Britain where the birthright of every child is a world-class education. A Britain which is built on hard work, aspiration, and hope. A Britain where we lead the world in setting the standards for integrity, decency, and leadership. And a Britain where we have enormous pride in our history and enormous confidence in our future. Now, before we get to building that, we have to deal with some immediate challenges facing us today. 3 in particular. We have to restore trust. We have to rebuild the economy. And we have to reunite our country. In order to restore trust, the first thing we have to do is to be honest, because that's how you do it. Now, in this leadership election, you've seen from me, I haven't taken the easy road. There are plenty of things I could have said that would have made my life easy, but I wanted to be honest about the challenges that our country faces and what is going to be required to fix them. Even though it hasn't made my life easy, it is the honest thing to do, and that's what leadership is about. Now, the other way to restore trust is to deliver on the things that we say we do that are important to people. And that's why I set out a plan to tackle the NHS backlogs, because we're reaching the point where millions of people are anxiously waiting for the treatment that they desperately need and deserve. We can't let that happen, and I will grip it and fix it. That's why I set out a plan to tackle illegal migration, because far too long we have watched on our TV screens people coming here illegally. And yes, this is a compassionate and welcoming country that welcomed my family, but we must also have control of our borders, and as Prime Minister, I will finally grip that problem and solve it and restore trust back in the system. Now, you all know we have to rebuild our economy, and you all know that the #1 challenge we face right now is inflation. People's bills rising. We need to grip inflation because it is the enemy that makes everyone poorer. It reduces their living standards. It erodes their hard-earned savings. It pushes up mortgage rates. And I will grip inflation and get it back down. We'll also help people with the cost of living, energy bills this autumn, which is why we will cut VAT on fuel. But what I won't do is embark on a spree borrowing tens and tens of billions of pounds of unfunded promises and put them on the country's credit card and pass them on to our children and our grandchildren to pick up the tab. That's not right. That's not responsible. And it's certainly not conservative. But of course, once we grip inflation and ensure that mortgage rates don't rise and cripple people, I'm going to cut taxes. Because I'm a conservative. Of course I'm going to deliver tax cuts. I want people to keep more of what they earn, because hard work is something that I value above everything else. I want to make sure that we cut taxes for business so that they can invest and innovate and grow. And we're also going to grow the economy by taking advantages of Brexit, which I was proud to support. And as Chancellor, I started to deliver on some of the radical things that we can do differently. New free ports across the country, reforming all our regulations in data, in life sciences, in financial services, to ensure that the United Kingdom is the best place in the world to start a business, to grow a business, to innovate. Because in the 21st century economy, that's how you drive growth and create better jobs. And my experience means that I'm the best person to lead our economy into that future. But lastly, we have to reunite our country. Now, in just a couple of years' time, we have to do something, all of us in this room, that have never been done before in British political history. And that is to win a historic 5th election term. That is going to be a challenge. But I know we can do it together. But in order to do it, we're going to have to appeal to swing voters in every part of our country, north and south, remain and leave, urban and rural, Scotland and Wales. And I believe with all my heart that I am the person, I am the candidate that gives our party the best opportunity to secure that victory and ensure that the Labour Party and Keir Starmer never walk through the doors of number 10 Downing Street. So those are what we're going to do. Restore trust, rebuild the economy, reunite our country. And in conclusion, let me say this. Now, I know the polls say that I'm behind in this race. I know that there are people who say there should be a coronation, not a contest. But you know what? I heard that once before, 7 years ago, when I arrived in Richmond, North Yorkshire. And ultimately, the members there gave me the greatest honour of my life when they selected me to be their candidate, to be their Member of Parliament. Many of them are here tonight, and I owe them an enormous debt of gratitude for placing their faith in me. And they have supported me unfailingly every day since. And today, I'm asking for all of your support. And I promise you, I am going to fight for every single vote. I am going to fight for the conservative values that are core to who I am and what I stand for. And I am going to fight hard for the argument that we should not mortgage our children and our grandchildren's future to make our lives easier today. And if you select me as your leader, as your next Prime Minister, I know we can build that better Britain that I talked about. But I also know that just like I did in Richmond, I will work my utmost to make each and every one of you enormously proud. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you.
Remind you, of course, you have your opportunity to put questions to both the candidates in just a few minutes' time. Now, could I ask you all again, please, put your hands together. Please welcome the Right Honourable James Cleverly, MP.
Thank you. Nick, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You are all here to make a decision. You are all here to decide. And you're here to decide who is going to be the next leader of our party and who is going to be the next Prime Minister of our country. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I have already decided. I have already decided. And that decision was easy for me. And I'm going to explain why I came to the decision that I came to and why I hope you will come to the same decision. I'm supporting Liz to be the leader of our party and our Prime Minister. I've known Liz for years. And I've known her as an activist. I have known her as an association chair. And I have known her as a local councillor. And I know that she knows what it takes to fight for every vote and to serve a local community. And I know that she knows that you don't get anything for free and that you have to work hard for everything. That's why I trust her to be the next leader and the next Prime Minister. And I also know that she has championed the views that she believes in for decades. Keeping taxes low. Not just saying it, doing it. Promoting freedom, not just here in the UK, but also around the world. And I know that she is passionate about bearing down on big and wasteful government. That's why I trust her to be the next leader of our party and the next Prime Minister. And I have seen her in action around the cabinet table. I have seen her make the most of the opportunities that Brexit has delivered. Getting those trade deals done when she was Trade Secretary. Remember those trade deals that all the smart, clever people told us would never happen? She got them done. I've seen her pushing for less red tape, lower taxes in government. I have seen her do it. And perhaps most importantly, I have seen her stand up to Iran and stand up to China and to stand up to Russia. I have seen her over and over again delivering for this country. I trust her to deliver. That's why I'm supporting her. That's why you should support her. And what I'm now going to do is give the opportunity to watch a short video explaining it in a bit more detail. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The United Kingdom is a great country, and I know that a united Conservative Party can unleash the potential of all the people who make our country so great. To win the next election, we need to deliver, deliver, and deliver for the British people. I know that our country's best days lie ahead. I'm the candidate with a clear vision for the future who can drive change and get things done. As Trade Secretary, I negotiated deals with allies like Australia and Japan, creating opportunities around the world for British business. And as Prime Minister, I will continue to deliver on the opportunities of Brexit. I will lead a government committed to core Conservative principles: low taxes, a firm grip on spending, driving growth in the economy, and giving people the opportunity to achieve anything they want to achieve, regardless of their background. I will work day and night to lead a party and a government that puts more money in your pocket and secures a better life for you and your family. I've consistently delivered when I have said I would. And I love our country. I want the best for us all, and I'm the person to deliver that.
Please welcome Liz Truss.
Friends and colleagues, it's fantastic to be here in Leeds, my old stomping ground. I grew up in this great city. I went to school at Allerton Grange and Roundhay. I hope there are no teachers of mine in the audience, and if there are, I'm really, really sorry. I bought my first Whitney Houston album at HMV in Brighton, and my mum and dad still live in this fine city. And what I think I got from Yorkshire is grit, determination, and straight talking. And that, my friends, is what I think we need now in Downing Street. Because the fact is that we face a huge global economic crisis. We have the worst war that's taken place on European shores happening in Ukraine. Now is not the time for business as usual. Now is not the time for the status quo. We need to be bold, and we need to do things differently. And what I would do as your Prime Minister is I would launch a plan for economic growth. First of all, reversing the increases in national insurance that we promised not to do in our manifesto. I'd have a moratorium on the Green Levy to save people money on their fuel bills. And I'd also keep corporation tax low so we can attract investment into our towns and cities across Yorkshire and across the whole of our great country. Because I believe that we need to be on the side of people who work hard and do the right thing. People who save their money. People who start their own businesses. The self-employed. People who go into work every day. That's whose side I'm on. I'd set up new low-tax investment zones that enable those businesses to start up in areas that have been left behind. I'd abolish the top-down Soviet housing targets that we have across our country. Now, before I became an MP, I was a councillor. I sat on a planning committee. And those are hours of my life that I will never get back. Because we all know how appalling the planning system is. And why should it be the same in London as Cornwall, as Yorkshire? I want to give power back to local people. And why should the transport here be so bad? Now, I remember as a teenager getting the bus into Leeds city centre because there was no other alternative. I'm afraid, my friends, it's not much better now. Leeds is still the largest city in Europe without its own metro network, and I would work to fix that. And I will get Northern Powerhouse Rail built. And I don't know if we've got any farmers in the audience today, but I will also help the brilliant farmers here in Yorkshire who produce great beef and lamb, fantastic Yorkshire rhubarb. I would help them by removing red tape and help them sell their fantastic food across the world. We need to unleash the potential of our great country, and we need to be bold to do that. And I'm the person that can take those steps. But we also need to continue to stand up to Vladimir Putin and the appalling war that he has waged in Ukraine. We were the first European country to send weapons to Ukraine. We put on the toughest sanctions of any country in the world on Russia. And I would not let up until Ukraine prevails and Putin fails. But we have to recognize that we need to spend more on defense. Because after the Cold War, we let our guard slip. We allowed the aggressors to expand. And that is why I would put defense spending up to 3% of GDP by the end of the decade. Because there is nothing more important than freedom and democracy, and we simply can't allow this situation to continue. But as well as freedom and democracy abroad, we also need it at home. And I know we've got an audience full of straight-talking Yorkshire people who know that a woman is a woman. And people who believe in free speech. I love our country, warts and all, and I'm proud to represent us around the world. And I want to do all we can to encourage our fellow citizens to love their country too and unleash its full potential. And finally, my friends, we need to be proud of who we are. We need to be proud to be Conservatives. I'm going to campaign as a Conservative, and I will govern as a Conservative. The people who voted for us in 2019, in seats like Keighley, in seats like Dewsbury, they didn't vote for us because they wanted Labour policies. They were fed up of the Labour Party. They were fed up of the failing Labour councils. They voted for us because they wanted opportunity, because they aspired to better things, because they wanted enterprise in their area. And that is what I, as your Prime Minister, am determined to deliver. Now, since I lived in Yorkshire, I have relocated to Norfolk. And I have, I'm afraid to say, and I'm afraid to say this at Elland Road, I've become a supporter of Norwich City FC. They're a fine family club. You know, what can I say? Delia's a great woman, great cookbooks, I think you can all agree. But I do want us to channel the spirit of Don Revie. Because we need to win. We need to win. And my friends, we can win against Keir Starmer, who is a patronising plastic patriot. He is beatable, but he is only beatable if we deliver. And I can assure you, if you select me, if you elect me, I will work my socks off in number 10 to deliver all of the promises we made in 2019 and to deliver a victory for the Conservatives in 2024. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Liz Truss, thank you very much for that. Just to explain, there is a brief break now, around 10 minutes, and then, of course, I have a few questions, but you do the majority of the questions. I remind you, look for the people in the white hoodies to make yourself known. Around 10 minutes now, then, ladies and gentlemen, when you can either have a comfort break or a drink, or if you're quick, a bit of both. See you in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.